Shalom from the Dome! Last week in the Capitol, progressives moved forward on a bill that would basically get us out of the totally f***ed Electoral College that gave us George W. Bush and Donald Trump against the wishes of a majority of voters in the country. This bill, if adopted in enough states, would ensure the candidate that simply wins the national popular vote is the one that becomes president. Right now, a vote in f***ing Wyoming, the most Trump-supporting state in the entire country, counts a whopping 300% more than a vote in Colorado. There is nothing democratic about votes in one state counting more than votes in another state. Oh, but Ian, we have to remember why the Founding Fathers created it. Yeah, it was to protect slave states. It's far past time to send this relic to the dustbin of history along with, slavery. While we're on the topic of horrible things, Republican State Senator Vicky Marble decided to say some crazy shit about tens of thousands of illegal votes being cast with absolutely no evidence for those claims.
My vote and your vote should not be canceled out by the national popular vote of those who may not even be citizens, and we know a lot of them aren't.
But the Brennan Center for Justice went a-lookin' and found a total of about 30 incidents of suspected non-citizen voting after more than 23 million votes in the entire country. That's 0.0000013%. It's not a voter fraud problem in this country, unless of course you count the fact that a foreign nation meddled in our elections, intentionally sowing division, confusion, and hatred among our voters in order to elect Donald Trump. The truth is we have an antiquated system of weighting a vote for president based on whether or not your state has any f***ing people in it, which is no longer necessary because we have the internet, and presidential candidates no longer campaign by f***ing railroad. There was also some horrendous misinformation and deplorable pejoratives thrown around about a comprehensive sex education bill that was extremely tough to listen to. To explain this catastrophe of democracy, we now get a fawn from KAS to break down the myths and facts about what is actually in the bipartisan comprehensive sex education bill heard last week.
Thanks, Ian. Last Wednesday, we learned that there ain't no party like a sex ed party because a sex ed party lasts for over 10 hours. A committee hearing for a bipartisan comprehensive sex ed bill turned into a three-ring circus after a mob of angry and tragically misinformed people showed up at the Capitol to make horrendous claims and just be downright offensive.
Fisting is when you take your fist and you shove it up somebody's anus.
I can't quite figure out where this is going.
This is not a healthy relationship.
Ms. Poston. I'm just trying to keep all the comments to the bill.
I've got another one on ring and I've got another one on golden showers.
There's a lot of misinformation floating around, so let me break it down for you. First, folks against this bill insisted that it would eliminate abstinence education and require that students receive sexual demonstrations in the classroom. Sound cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs? That's because it is. No one's gonna be teaching kids how to have sex in the classroom. That's just false. And while this bill will ensure that harmful abstinence-only sex ed programs are no longer the only kind of sex ed taught, it actually requires that abstinence be taught along with contraception and condom use. And it makes sure that youth, regardless of gender identity and sexual orientation, have the tools they need to make informed decisions. Another egregious myth is that kids in elementary schools as young as 5 and 6 are gonna have to engage in explicit conversations about sex. Also, not true. In reality, this bill supports a law that already exists in Colorado that requires sex ed to be age appropriate at all times. That means younger kids will only be taught about things like personal boundaries, hygiene, and body safety. Finally, this bill doesn't take away a parent's right to opt their kid out of sex ed. It just doesn't. As if these outrageous claims weren't enough, Republican Rep. Mark Baisley from Douglas County ran an amendment to this bill to reclassify LGBTQ relationships as not normal or healthy. And Republicans wonder why they lost the 2018 election in Colorado.
In other news, Cory Gardner endorsed Donald Trump for re-election in 2020 after refusing to do so in 2016. Back then, Gardner said, "I cannot and will not support someone who brags about degrading and assaulting women." Since then, Trump has separated families and put children in cages at the border, shut the government down for over a month for a stupid wall that isn't ever gonna happen.
A medieval wall!
Many in his inner circle plead guilty to a preposterous list of crimes. Lost the House in a blowout election in 2018, slashed taxes for the ultra-wealthy, ballooning the deficit to trillions of dollars, tried and failed to rip healthcare from hundreds of thousands of Coloradans, and obstructed the hell out of the Mueller investigation. I guess Donald Trump finally became the kind of candidate Cory Gardner can support. Episode 2 in the bag. Thanks to everyone for all the great feedback last week. We still hope you let us know how we're doing. Drop us a line or tell us what you think in the comments. See you next week.